Thank you for joining on today's Recapping with Recapped. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm really excited to talk about the customer success side and just a lot of other avenues. But I'm Mark Fershane, CEO of Recapped, and today I have with me Matt Berg over at Versapay, and by way of a lot of really great companies. Matt, appreciate your time. Why don't you give a quick intro? Who are you? What do you do? Why is it exciting?
Thanks for having me, Mark. This is awesome. Glad to talk. My name is Matt Berg. I am the Vice President of Customer Success at Versapay, and we make accounts receivable very easy and very collaborative. And I think that is a big piece of where software is going, quite honestly, is being a little bit more collaborative and more communication. And so within that, have an amazing team of CSMs and obviously working with those mid to enterprise level customers in the space.
That's amazing. And obviously, collaboration is very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Obviously we enable it kind of on the other side of the coin, but 2023, I think, was a tough year for everybody, and especially even just going into 2022. What lessons and wins did you guys have? What worked well for you in 2023?
Yeah, no doubt. 23 was a super interesting year in many different ways. And, I think the things that really worked for us was just a recommitment to focus and getting back to a little bit of the basics. And that was just getting closer to our customers, understanding that all of our customers were struggling in some way, shape, or form, and trying to figure out how the solution at the time could really help them out. And I think what really boiled down to was I really started to sign up to this philosophy around making customers happy was just not enough. Like, there was so much focus on satisfaction and happiness, and through the data that I'd just come across and discovered, it just didn't translate into results and success. And so when I say getting back to the basics, it was really about that. How do you help customers drive more results with your software? That's really where my team started to focus in on, was just helping customers realize those results all over again. It's almost like resetting the table in a sense. We just wanted to get them back to delivering what they set out to achieve. Over time, sometimes the software kind of gets watered down. You forget, new players come in, there's a ton of turnover, like one way or the other, whether it was that hiring wave, and then you kind of had a little bit of a reduction wave. And so there's new people in seats, and just re-educating was a big component of 23 for us.
I love that. And I think for us, it was also just getting back to and mastering the fundamentals. So I agree with you. Can you talk to some of the tactics or hacks that you guys employed in 23 in terms of being able to show that value where customer happiness just wasn't enough?
For sure. For us, it was getting closer to product. It was really digging in more into the product analytics. Again, on the customer success side, you can get wrapped up into these health scores, you can get wrapped up into NPS, and things like that are good little signals and lagging indicators, but they just don't tell the complete story of what's happening. It doesn't give you that predictive kind of trend going forward either. So for us, it was really about getting deeper into the product. We activated a couple solutions to help us do that. And what it allowed us to really dig into was, how are customers using this? How often are they logging in? What's normal? What's not normal? And we really dug into that whole customer journey and the touch points through data, and not just through kind of the feelings of, customers taking the call, not taking the call, and just, are they answering a survey, yes or no? Do they like us? It was, what is the data telling us? And leaning into that way more in 23 than ever before.
I love that, because everything has to be measured on an ROI basis, right? And there have to be numbers behind it. So those are the things that worked. What didn't? What were the painful lessons? What were your lowest points of 2023? Like what takeaways did you have on that?
Oh man, I don't want to go low here, Mark, but now you open up some wounds. No, I mean, look, I think even on the CS side, like, always trying to iterate and try new things. And so with that, you're going to fail on some things. You're going to take some shots. I don't know if there was one specific thing that jumps out to me. It says, like, we bombed on this. I can tell you that, there's no doubt that we took a very kind of trial and error approach last year of, how are we going to get customers to engage with us, re-energize that conversation, start to get them to think differently about the solution that we had. and to drive it forward. And I don't know if there was a measurable moment that we said, wow, like this is not going how we expected, or we felt really bad about it. I mean, in CS, you've got to be an optimist in general. You've always got to feel like things are moving in the right direction. So I feel like the team did an amazing job of embodying that as well. So I know I danced around your question there, but we kind of suppress those bad memories and move forward and look to the future.
All right. I won't press too much harder than obviously you managed large teams. What did the top 1% customer success reps do differently? What were the workflows? What were the thoughts? What were the mentalities of like the best of the best? What did they do differently?
Yep. There's no doubt that CS gets asked to do a bunch of different things. And wherever you are in that world, like you can become the catch-all, you can be the dumping ground. And the best CS reps that I've ever had embody a few qualities. One, they're incredibly curious and they ask incredibly thoughtful questions. They're not just there to appease the customer and to give them what they want to hear and show them what they already know. They are people who come prepared, who ask engaging questions that elicit more of discovery rather than validating what's already known about the account. They are incredible problem solvers and are relentless in helping to find the right answer and really show up for customers inside of larger organizations that is absolutely necessary. And the last thing is just the organization has to be off the charts. Juggling customers is super hard. Obviously, there's tons of software that can help you with that. But at the end of the day, if you get too many signals and too many reminders and too many playbooks, it just all becomes watered down. So those top tier CSMs are the ones who know how to organize and be very thoughtful with their time.
If you could run one playbook in 2024, you listed out a bunch of really great things going forward or that you did this year successfully. If you can only run one play to drive as much customer happiness or renewals or upsells or whatever your goal is, what would that play be?
It's all about driving results. At the end of the day, for me, a customer doesn't sign up for software to be the magic bullet. Or maybe they do. Maybe they think that that is absolutely going to change how things are going to happen. The biggest play that we could run to drive success has to be around change management and behavioral change. And that is the hardest part because software is supposed to help do that lifting, or the intent is. But if you don't teach and tell almost a customer or a user how to use your software, you're not actually completing the whole story. And so, yeah, I mean, you could get into the world of where product is so in tune, where they're building all of these things and they're getting really good at anticipating customer need, but that just doesn't happen. So this is where CS comes in a lot of times. It is getting into that show and tell world of this is how the best customers use the software. And these are the steps that they take in order to get results out of it. In the same way you asked about the top 1% of CSMs and what do they embody? I mean, it's the same for our top customers. This is what they do, and this is how they extract value. And it's almost to this world we have to tell now more than just show value and say like, hey, isn't this feature amazing? Or doesn't this look great? Like that doesn't do anything to move the needle forward. You have to absolutely demonstrate, show and tell to drive results. And that's going to be the one thing that we'll really focus here on 24.
I love that. Really naturally taking me to my next question. What are you going to do differently in 2024? What are you really excited about?
Yeah, in 24, again, it's getting more into that narrative around driving results. It is in the world of leaning on more data. It is also definitely around collaborative communication. We have to realize this in CS is that we're not competing against anybody other than the other CSMs in all these other companies. That is our competition. It's not necessarily your direct competitors in your industry. You're competing for time and you're competing for people's level of attention. And like that is what you have to deliver and show up and do better every day. Again, our goal is to be better than all the other CSMs that that vendor has. And they probably have 10 to 15. I think Okta even did a study saying like the average amount of whether it was vendors or CSMs a customer has is somewhere in the nature of like 20. And
Jeez.
so if you're looking at that from a time perspective and attention, we all know social media has a place for everybody for the most part, and it's all an attention grab. And the best social media companies today are the ones that can pull you in and keep you there longer. And so, how do we, as CSMs at Versapay, how do we capture the most attention from our customers and administrators and users? And so that's the biggest focus for us in 24. I am excited about that. I think it is. It's trying to crack that code a little bit. How can we deliver the best experience when you're talking to our CSMs at Versapay? How do we show you more value and more results on a consistent basis and teach you the best ways to use the software so you can get the maximum benefit of what you signed up to do? Otherwise, it just becomes some shelfware and fade off into the distance. And we don't ever want that to happen. And that is our absolute commitment, is to try and crack that code a little bit more this year than ever.
I love that. I never really even thought about it, that you are competing with every other CSM experience that you're running into, right? That's such a good way of putting it, because there's been so many QBRs and business reviews and everything that I get into, and it's just like the same stuff that's on my dashboard. We're going to take 45 minutes of talking. I want to skip through 80% of these slides. What I want to know is like, what tangible, tactical things can you give my team on best practices that you're seeing across your other accounts that we can implement into, and that's it, right? And just make sure the status of everything else is good. But so many of these conversations are just, frankly, a waste. And so I love that idea of just having to compete against them. Again, it's been a really tough year. I think, the spirit that we're trying to embody is the sales and customer success and revenue community is just so small. Everyone needs all the help they can get.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that either you're struggling with or you could use some help with, and how can you help others?
I think CS in general, and I've had a lot of other leaders and other CS leaders come to me from other organizations asking, best practices around communicating internally with product and engineering. The role of customer success sometimes is empathy, listening, and with that, you get a lot of requests from customers. And it's hard for us to know how to filter that, but it's also hard for us to communicate to development and understand roadmaps. So trying to figure out the perfect world of communication and collaboration internally with the product and development team, I think is super critical for us to be having more successful kind of going forward here.
I love that. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was great. Don't get to talk to enough customer success leaders.
Yeah.
It's always like 60, 70% pre-sales, but this is fantastic. Really appreciate it. How can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Matt Berg at Versapay, and that should probably get you there. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
And Mark, this was great. I mean, I think that what you guys are doing at Recapped is incredible. What I've seen when we started talking a few years back was, a small, scrappy startup to now this company that's really making big changes in the world of collaboration and definitely deal communication. And I think that's so critical that you get customers. And I would say this, like I've often looked at your solution from a customer standpoint to create that world of exchange. And it's just been a really nice solution for others to think about, not only from the pre-sales, but from a customer standpoint. There's so many things that are happening on an ongoing basis. To have a platform for you to mutually communicate and cut through the clutter of the email inbox is so beneficial.
Matt, thank you so much. One of our customers, I think, said it so much better than we could. There's a million things you can't control. You can't control the market. You can't control your product. You can't control competitors. The only thing you can control is the experience that the customer feels.
Yep.
And that's, I think, more vital than ever. So
Yeah,
appreciate it.
100%.
Obviously, if we can ever help, let me know.
Yeah, appreciate it as well. Thanks, Mark.
Cool. And cut.